your kind of fascination for collecting things also started when you were in America.
Yes.
But interestingly, continued beyond that. So it wasn't necessarily limited to that period. Something obviously was sparked at that time.
Yeah. But then once we had all the postcards for New York, I saw all those postcards of Americana, you know, the cowboy, what is it, racist cards. There were some shameless cards, you know, it was really shocking as well. So it was still very, very sort of, the history was so close still to the whole thing.
Yep.
There were still, when we were in south of North America, we were shocked how people didn't mix. And I mean, even in Cornell, the people didn't mix. The black people were sitting here, the white people were sitting there. It was still very raw, everything still. So that was fascinating, that history was so close to still the sensibility of which you thought was already, everybody had overcome all that, you know. So that's why I started to collect all these cards of the electric chair and the, you know, animals, the fish stories. Fish stories, the biggest oranges, the biggest potato. You can see them here. You know.
I mean, one of the things that I always see in the postcard collection, in your object collection, is this idea that history doesn't only reside in the great accounts of history, the great historians, the great epic movies, the celebrated pieces of sculpture, but that there are key elements of history, of culture and of civilization in the things that we consider in our present everyday lives to be trash, to be disposable, throwaway.
Yes.
That actually after time these tell a story about culture and about humanity that in a sense is not represented in the great museums and the great accounts of history.
That's why in every town that I go, I immediately go to the hardware store. Because there you see the things that people use, the completely different things. And they're more telling, I find, all the kitchen tools and top dishes and stupid things. You find more sort of differences and telling differences about the culture than in the museums. And, you know. Also in the museums, you of course see a lot of people who have always culture clashed with the country that we're in. In museums, there are hardly ever people that really come from that country. Yep. That's the amazing thing.
I mean, again, museums are institutions usually there to celebrate good taste.
Yeah.
They're regimes of good taste, and that very rarely allow bad taste in.
Yeah, that's the cream.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to the cake shop if you go to a museum.
Yeah.
But if you go to the hardware store, you go and you go to look at the potatoes. And you see what I mean?
Maybe you could say something about one of your phrases that I really like, which is being serious about non-serious things. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm always extremely annoyed when people go into a museum and there's very funny things, because you can see this artist had a lot of fun. He was joking. Yeah. People standing there very seriously, not joking. They don't get the joke. But joking is a sort of a total necessity in everybody's life, of weighing things against the seriousness and the joking. My whole theory is based that you know, if the serious things, if you want to get them across, you have to make people laugh, because there's no other way. And that's why sort of comedians, they're often very sad people and very, very serious. But it's a way to get to a certain sensibility that everybody has, and to make people laugh is in every country really basically the same. So it's also a very cross-cultural thing, laughing. Yeah.
And one of the things that I think constantly comes through in all your work, I mean, many people, they look at it and immediately they think Surrealism, but it's not, obviously not kind of pure thoroughbred Surrealism. It's what your daughter Charlie's called playground Surrealism. So where the Surrealists maybe took Freud and the theories of the unconscious verbatim and extremely seriously, you take these on, but you also you're prepared to make fun out of them, or prepared to see the light side, or the absurd side of these theories, which again makes your kind of surrealism, a kind of playful version of surrealism, but not by no means any less perceptive or less afraid of dealing with dark emotions, for example.
I think that's it's not the kind of surrealism that has a sort of a dogma. Mm-hmm. And I don't really like dogmas, although people accuse me of having dogmas myself, which is the anti-dogma dogma. Yeah. So you can always say, yeah, that's also a dogma, not to have a dogma. But I just find things that are, speak to me. I find small objects that are surreal because they're different thoughts combined in one object. And that's what interests me, the different things. That's why I was so interested in finding the Father Christmas with wings, because it was two things that were combined by a culture that doesn't know about Father Christmas. And Minnie Mouse in a regional Indian dress, because they sort of appropriated the whole mystique of Minnie Mouse. So things live on, and I'm sure, I mean, we don't know, we think that things are authentic, but things haven't been authentic already like 3,000 years ago, because people, apparently, they found carpets that were sort of like Chinese patterns in South America. So people don't know. The whole history is a sort of a whispering game, where we have, I mean, if you think how wrong we can have it from our neighbors, that we don't understand what they're doing, how could we possibly understand what they have been doing so long ago? So there is a lack of authenticity, which people try to hold on to now. They say, I'm the one who started it first. No, you weren't. Yep. 8,000 years they were doing that already. See, so I believe that everything should be used by everybody. I mean, everybody can copy my toys. And make it theirs. Like the Minnie Mouse and the Father Christmases. Everybody, I was very happy to see that you could take, when I went into the museum, that you could take tango lessons in Switzerland. I thought that would be brilliant, to have tango lessons in Switzerland, and you have the sort of stiffness of the Swiss into the tango. It will be a different type of tango. And I will go to Rio de Janeiro and take watchmaking classes, and you get the watches that sort of swing more. So I'd love to I love the way things are appropriated by other sensibilities and other cultures. And so that's what interests me, really.
Misunderstanding something is the best way of getting to the truth than necessarily understanding it in the correct way.
And it's also a source of invention. The people that misunderstand each other, they think they said something, said, oh, I thought you said this. You've immediately invented something. There's something new existed because of the misunderstanding between you. Yeah.
Just to ask you about your collection, do you ever see a point where your collection of objects and toys and scale models, will it ever become complete?
I hope not, no. I would go, I'll die if they say, that's it, ready. And I was very happy to make here in the museum sort of the Twin Towers, because I saw this film, Man on Wire. And I think that's one of the most moving, beautiful films. I think everybody should see that film. because it tells you a lot about sensibilities and about people appropriating. When the man saw in the thing that this, in the paper, the dentist, this Philippe Petit, that these towers were built, he thought these towers are built for me. They're just there for me to put a wire between them and walk it. And so I'm very proud to have made a little wire between the two towers, and I hope everybody will go and find them in my collection. The man walking the two towers on the on the wire.
And maybe the last question: how did it feel when this all this stuff, all these paintings, all these drawings, all your private possessions were moved from your house, which, like as you said, is the private space of your own life, and put back in the public realm? How did you initially feel, and how do you feel now?
Well, in the beginning I thought, oh my God, I'm completely undressed. Everybody can see me naked now. This is terrible. And then I thought, if people get enjoyment out of it, it's fantastic to share it. It's sort of great. So, and I'm very excited about people's reactions and how people do the sets. Yeah. And especially the children now, they did sets and they knew what they were doing. They were explaining it. And they were not doing it for other people, but they were doing it for themselves. This is how I want it. So they were very determined. It was wonderful to see. I hope a lot of people come and do the sets and do it for themselves. Yeah. You know, not for, look what I can do kind of thing. You know?